As a Chinese person, the Chinese century of humiliation is one of the few things about Chinese history that can bring me to tears. Even to this day, this is the biggest pain point of Chinese history for most Chinese people today. Yes, so I have spoken about this in a previous episode, the opium wars, and how the Western colonial powers tried to oppress and break China, and they did humiliate China. They did impose all these unequal trade treaties. They um, they pushed in a great enormous amounts of opium into the country and extracted genuine wealth out of the country, silver and gold, and they essentially impoverished China for a century. This only happened for a century, so they were not able to totally infiltrate the Chinese empire, the Chinese mainland, and they were not able to impose the English language on the Chinese the way they have done to India. So this is a very tragic century in Chinese history that also includes the imperial invasion from Japan, etc. So everything prior to the Mr. Mao's takeover of China is kind of part of this entire scheme, this entire century of humiliation. So this is what is taught in every Chinese textbook. Every Chinese student learns this. It is drilled into their heads that because China was weak, because China was not capable of defending itself, this is what happened to China. And the lesson is that this should never, ever, ever, ever happen again to China. And the lesson is that China needs to strengthen itself economically, militarily, and in all other ways in order to ensure that this sort of humiliation is never brought upon China again. So this is a very interesting counterpoint to the neighboring civilization, the older civilization, which is India. India has suffered a millennium of humiliation, and the contrast is that India's textbooks glorify the humiliators, those who humiliated and oppressed India. India has suffered the worst genocide in human history. More than 500 million Indians died over a millennium of foreign occupation. First, the Turkic occupation, which itself may have killed about 500 million Indians, and then the Western occupation, starting from various countries, but it ended up as the British Raj. The British alone killed, I would say, more than 200 million Indians. This is the worst genocide in human history, but our textbooks don't speak about it. They do not refer to this period as the millennium of humiliation. They actually glorify and extol the virtues of our Turkic and European and Christian occupiers, and our entire bureaucratic system, the judiciary system, the political system, the parliamentary system, the Western style fake democracy, and the academic system. Everything is still completely 100% colonized. It is still, we are still aping the inferior model of the West. So this is the contrast between India and China. The Chinese won their independence through violence. There was this protracted civil war, and it was a war of independence essentially. The communists emerged victorious, and they set about extinguishing all traces of foreign occupation and everything that could be ascribed to foreign influences. It did cause a great deal of destruction in China. One cannot deny that. Mao's rule was horrific. Maybe 80, 90, 100 million Chinese died because of his mismanagement. But at the end of the day, the Chinese have been able to emerge out of it. And it is a proud nation. It is a Chinese nation. They don't learn anything in English. They reject the English language. Their entire education is in English. So this is all a product of the education, the historical education they are given. They are reminded every day that they have undergone this humiliation and it should never happen again. Indians are anesthetized against this. Indians are told that the past 1000 years were the best thing that could happen to India. So this is the origin of India's slave mindedness. People in India, unfortunately, it is true, they are slave minded. They are all mentally colonized. They hate Indian culture. They think everything bad that is in India is because of Indian culture, because of our backwardness, inferiority, and all that. Caste is all Indian, and we were all casteist, and we were oppressive, and we were Brahminical, and we were patriarchal and misogynistic. All of this is a consequence of the past 1000 years. But we are taught to believe that this is all because of our backwardness, and because of the inferiority of our culture. And the result is very apparent and visible today. India is becoming more and more divided. India is becoming more and more un-Indian and Hindu-phobic, etc. So this is the contrast between India and China. The Chinese recognize the century of humiliation, and they have decided it will never happen again. And India embraces the past millennium of humiliation, and India hates everything about itself. So this is what we need to wake up from. So please wake up.